What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today is September the 6th. I want to give you a quick pre-market update, go over some of the hot movers and what big money is doing on this fun Friday morning. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, you did have payroll numbers just come out. A little bit worse for wear, so came in at 142 versus a forecast of 164. So a lot of data. Consumer linked data is not the best. And so as a byproduct, you see the futures down slightly. So it is down 0.56, S&P down 0.28%, and Dow 0.25. So a little bit extra fear in the broader market as a byproduct of negative data. And even the fear and greed index is moving a little bit lower on the neutral category, meaning people's appetite for risk is somewhat diminishing. And starting off, Sofi, it is kind of flirting back and forth between red and green. And as of right now, no actual news. They do have that Goldman Sachs conference that is on Monday. I believe it is at 11 o'clock or something like that. If I have that, 11:30. So stay tuned for that. That should be fairly good for Sofi. Aside from that, shorts, no doubtably, once the market does open, will really piggyback and try to suppress Sofi, similar to what happened yesterday. So 17.68% of the free float is being shorted. So kind of stay tuned for that. And right now with it at 726, it is trading between this S3 and this S2. So 7 is going to be a strong support. I don't really anticipate that being touched today, but I also didn't anticipate that pullback from yesterday. So kind of stay tuned for that. But $7.34, if there is a recovery, definitely that will be a key pivot for Sofi. So if it does recover, it might just trade between this S2 and that 750 options resistance level. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. Faraday, another stock I do cover under this channel, did kind of drop a lot of bombs after hours. And yeah, I don't know why. They love to put out like 10 p.m. news. So they put out two things, one of which they did regain compliance, which is good to know. It's not a reason to really buy Faraday because it doesn't really change all that much, but they've been really chattering for a while about some UAE deal. And yeah, they came out with that news as well. So yeah, very, very interesting. The negative side of this is it's 30 million in notes, convertible notes. So they're still kind of leaning towards more the toxic lending component, but still at least they are doing kind of what they said. So that is definitely getting a lot of attention today. And you must, obviously someone had to have known something because the amount of buying that's been happening on the dark pool as of the last couple of days is very abnormal, as you can kind of see right here. So I think it's very clear that people knew in advance that this was coming out. So, and that's generally the market though. Faraday is somewhat heavily shorted. That's obviously dependent on 12 million for the outstanding share count. If they have been diluting, then this number will be reflected a little bit lower, but 15.88% of the free float is being shorted. It does indicate it is on the threshold list as well. So shorts, no doubtably, are going to be returning a little bit today. And even, I believe, as of late last night, there has been basically no available shares to borrow. So kind of stay tuned for that. And right now with it at $5.91, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. When that news did come out through IBKR and their 24-hour trading, it did touch this pivot point right here of that $7 range. So yeah, just once the market does open, watch for that to be most likely touched, and then dependent on what happens, previous high of Faraday when it did run up was this R1. So yeah, just watch for those 2 points. So $7 and then $11. Moving on, so Wheeler Real Estate, it is up 110% this morning because of this. So looks like more of a dismissal of a class action lawsuit. So again, I don't really know much context behind that, but clearly the market absolutely loves it. And as of right now, looking at the short interest, 7.47% of the free float is being shorted. It is on the threshold list, and 68.47 thousand shares overall are being shorted. So that's kind of what the market likes to squeeze, or at least it did. Have low float companies somewhat heavily shorted. So kind of stay tuned for that. And with it running up as much as it did, obviously you have to take all this technicals with a grain of salt because it's above all the key points on the fib levels on every single metric. So the 1 day, 1 week, 4 hour, it's above it all. So again, there's not much relevance in going over that. NIO is still holding strong, so no actual news today, but they did have very kick-ass earnings yesterday, so it's more of a domino effect from that. It is heavily shorted somewhat, and so shorts actually were kind of admitting defeat a little bit. They returned 1 million shares yesterday, but 13.68 or 67% of the free float is being shorted. Utilization is 78.74. So definitely watch for them to be very active around that $5 range, and that would be linked to their options. And as of right now, with it at 494, it is trading between these 2 points, so this S3 and this S2. I'm going to kind of revert back to 2 different things just to show you support and some resistance levels. So 508 will be that next strong resistance. That's looking at the 1 week, and then looking at the 1 day, $4.86 will be the strong support, followed by 455, 435, and so forth. So yeah, it should be a very interesting point. Pre-market though, you can kind of already see that it did and was down slightly. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy roller coaster, no doubtably today, but they did have very kick-ass earnings yesterday. I did a full dedicated video all about NIO under my other channel, Financial Journey. But Broadcom, so they did unveil their earnings. They actually did have fairly good earnings, but similar to NVIDIA, just the margins weren't really there, regrettably. So it is down 6.23%. It is recovering though, so that's something to keep in mind. It's not heavily shorted, so no point in really talking about that. But right now, with it at 143 and change, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So 137 will be a strong support. 154 will be the next strong resistance. I don't anticipate that pivot point to be touched, and you can kind of see so far from the activity this morning, it is recovering. So it did have a low of 137. So of course that S1 right there. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what does happen. No doubtably though, it will be very, very volatile. Still though, is it an overreaction? You're seeing a lot of people on social media saying that this is a very similar scenario to NVIDIA, that is just minuscule and it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, this might have a potential kind of recovery. We'll just have to wait and see. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Do you own or are you buying any of these stocks, or is there any other stocks that's kind of floating your boat? One final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it. They give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. The link to this is in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.